in the Sunday Times, Wayne Rooney's column, and in particular his comments that I think a lot of people will have seen on Ravel Morrison. He talks about Morrison having everything, about him nutmegging Nemanja Vidic 3 times in one training session, but says that he struggled with the lifestyle in an environment that a footballer has to cope with. He also says, I saw Paul Pogba come through, Jesse Lingard, all these players, and Ravel was better than them by a country mile. So that's sort of one for you, Graeme, Jamie as well. Why do some players with the talent seem to fall short in that way?
Well, it's not new, is it? Ravel Morrison's, it's not a unique story. The history of football is littered with exceptionally talented young men who did nothing with it. I think a big part of it is obviously the influences that come under. It's very important as a young man. You can easily have your head turned, and it's so important. I seem to say this every time I'm on this programme. Senior pros, they have a big part to play. So if you come under the influence of good senior pros, early on, you're learning the rights and wrongs. And he would appear from the outside to be someone who couldn't deal with getting so much so soon. And he's not unique, unfortunately. In the modern game, and I fully understand it, I've been there myself as a manager working at a football club where you have a decision to make. You're giving someone who's young, who is talented, too much too soon. You know that. But the problem you're faced with, if you don't give it to them, they'll walk out the door, go down the road, and find another club that will give them what they're asking for. And I come back to it, good senior pros, and obviously...
I mean, my dad had him at QPR, and he said he had the most incredible talent, Graeme. But as you say, it's application, it's desire, how much do you want to be a footballer? So one thing having talent, I remember talking to Sir Alex Ferguson about him, and he said he's the most talented player that he's ever worked with. But that's one thing. Talent doesn't make up for everything. It's about wanting to train harder than anyone else, be better than anybody else, and not just turn up every now and again. And the influence, I think you say senior players, but I think family and people around you are so important as well. Your agents, talking sense to you sometimes, because sometimes you need an arm around you. There's been plenty of talented players like that just haven't made the grade or made the level they should have.
The vast majority of professional footballers come from a working class background, housing estates. And I think some of them find it hard to leave those friends behind when they actually start to achieve something in football, and obviously they're earning really good money, and they're still dragged back into that environment. My own story, where my mum at 15 encouraged me to leave Edinburgh. I was from a housing estate, and my mother was all for me. And I think of me being a parent now at 15 saying, go on, son, go, other end of the country, from Edinburgh down to London. I wouldn't have done that with any of my kids at 15. I'd have worried too much for them. But my mum knew the bigger picture. She saw it, and I have to give her great credit for that. She encouraged me to go. Or she just didn't like me. It was one of those.
My dad sold me at 17. At least my dad got some money for me, Graeme. Your mum just went, get out.
Do you think for both of you, did you have a sliding doors moment where you think, Graeme, if that hadn't happened, maybe it wouldn't have worked out for you? Same for you, Jamie. Had you not been sold, it wouldn't have happened.
Me personally, no. I had great belief in that I was going to be a professional footballer. I'd been lucky. I played for Edinburgh schools in the primary, Edinburgh and Scottish schools when I was secondary. So I was always slightly, ahead of my peers. I never had those doubts as a young man.
Jamie, was there a moment for you?
I'd never have guessed that listening to Graeme every week that he had his doubts. Would you?
No, you wouldn't have picked it.
No. Do you know what, Patrick? As a kid, it's all I wanted to do. Live, sleep, eat football. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to be around football. I had a dad that took me everywhere with him. There were days when I should have gone to school. We lived in the US. I was always with him every day, watching him train, learning from the best. When I was a kid, Bobby Moore and people like that were around us. So it was a very lucky, privileged position to be in. And it was all I wanted to do. And even now, we absolutely love football. And it's been so kind to all of us in our family. So no, it's all I ever wanted to do. Graeme gave me my debut as a 17, 18-year-old. So no, I was very fortunate. 11 years at Liverpool, I wouldn't have changed anything.